Hey, it's Teasi Cannon again. So excited to share with you some more of my journey. If you watched the first session, you know that I spent years of my life hating who I saw in the mirror. For me, my particular struggle was always that I felt fat. And I have a really big rear end, which today I'm fine with. I actually wrote a book about it, so I consider it a blessing. But forever and ever, I hated that about myself. And today I don't. And so it's a miracle story that I'm excited to share with you. And you know, if you saw the Damascus balcony session, if you didn't, I highly recommend you go watch that. But basically that was a moment in my life where God literally changed what I see in the mirror. For years and years, I mean, this is how I synopsize, if that's even a word, what happened to me. For years and years, I was desperate, literally desperate to change how I look. And all that time, God was desperate to change how I see. And He did. And I want to talk now about the beginning of how He did that. How can God change not only how we see, but what we see when we're looking in the mirror without any physical changes occurring? I haven't lost a pound since, I can't tell how many years it's been. I mean, maybe up or down a few. My healing and my freedom and my joy have nothing to do with that today, which I'm so excited about. But how does that happen? I want to talk to you about how the first step, like one of the most essential parts of that for me, for how that even happened. How is that possible? And that is that the first thing I needed to do was understand my God as my Father. I needed to get that view of Him correct, because it wasn't. For years and years, I had a wrong opinion of Him, as I think many of us do. Sometimes we're shocked when we realize how falsely accused, how much we have falsely accused Him. Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you a little story to kind of make this point. When I was a little girl, I had a really bad attitude. I was an expert eye roller and grunter, like, you know, if Mom said, "Teasi, can you come empty the dishwasher?" Actually, it wasn't a dishwasher because we never had that. I had to wash the dishes by hand, which was even worse. I had a bad attitude about everything. I hate saying that now, but I look back and I know it was bad. And my parents wanted to train that out of me, which is a good thing. As a parent today, I find myself saying to my kids, you need to change your attitude. It's not a bad lesson. But my parents would say to me, "Teasi, you are grounded until your attitude changes or Christ returns, whichever one comes first." So I would go into my room. As soon as they left and shut the door, I would cross my arms, stick out my tongue, and wait for the rapture, because I knew my attitude was never going to change. I just had this feeling it never would, and I didn't want it to. I was prideful and stubborn as a kid. Years and years of grounding for that. Now fast forward into my adult life. My parents are gone. I'm not getting grounded anymore, but I now assumed God took that role. That God was sitting up in heaven. My Father God was up there tapping His divine foot, frustrated with me because I couldn't get my attitude right. He was just waiting, and I could almost see Him roll His eyes like if I had a bad attitude. Oh, when is Teasi ever going to get it? And because of that, I know that seems silly, but what was happening in my heart is because I thought that's how He was, I was resisting what He was trying to give me. I couldn't accept it because I thought my attitude was disqualifying me from blessings. Now, in your life, that may be something much bigger, or maybe not as big. It can be anything. It can be deep issues like you didn't have a dad. So it's hard for you to even imagine God as a father because you don't have any frame of reference. Because the problem, what we do in general is we naturally ascribe to Father God the characteristics that we've seen in our earthly parents. You've probably heard that before. But and I can't stress enough how important it is to focus on this issue for a little bit in our lives. Because here's the deal. If we don't know God, we can't trust God. And I'm just going to tell you now, your Father God has a lot of blessings in store for you. He loves you, and He wants to pour greater measures of healing and freedom than you could ever imagine. And if you don't trust Him, if we don't trust Him or know Him, we can't receive all of that goodness. And that includes freedom from looking at a scale to get our value, freedom from rushing to food for our peace. I mean, the sky's the limit on the good stuff He wants to pour into our lives.